Hello, one and all. It is I, Phoolery, and welcome to the Hobby Dungeon. So, probably noticed from the title of this, we're going to be talking the new and very much freshly released Horus Heresy game by Games Workshop. Now, I do apologize up front. I have a bit of a cold. I will be kind of drinking water and everything while I'm working on this. I just kind of woke up with a gunked up nose. But I wanted to get this video made and get some of my own thoughts and advice and things about Horus Heresy out there in front of people, because I am not an influencer. I'm not a major channel person. I have to work and buy all of my things with my own money, except for the little bit of cash that my few patrons give me once a month. I appreciate it. As always, Mr. Funkamon and CC, you guys are great. I appreciate you both so much for enabling me to save a little money here and there and keep my hobby going and to bring you guys more interesting things. And what else might you be interested in if you've been a recent follower of my channel? I'm sure you're wondering, Phoolery, what store are you still working on? Are you still working on your Wild West story? Are you gonna go nothing but Horus Heresy? Like, what's going on, man? It's been a while. Well, on my Patreon, I've made it very clear that I've started a new day job. You've probably noticed my arm is in a wrist brace. I've developed Horror of Horrors carpal tunnel, which is not a great thing to have when you're into model making and building, because it puts a lot of pain in these three fingertips right here, and you know, it makes things uncomfortable. But I'm learning to work through it and get back on my horse. The job I work is assembly line repetitive and physically demanding. I am still very much adjusting, so kind of the last thing I want to do when I get home is write or build models. I kind of just want to rest and chill. But I'm starting to build again, I'm starting to paint again, so we've got that coming. I'll be reviewing a few things coming up to hopefully have some more things to talk about. I'm just going to range mostly on Horus Heresy related items and things. But what my patrons have funded this month is this. This is, I believe it's called the Jakoi hobby painting handle. I saw this on Amazon when I was looking for some alternatives to this old workhorse, my Citadel model holder, which has just simply this is slowly becoming just for my airbrushing, because I constantly keep getting it gunked up and covered with airbrush paint, and it gets all dirty and stuff, that it's not as handy to have when I'm trying to just paint models. So I found this thing. This is the deluxe version. I think the base version is just this. It's just this part of the handle, one of the one or a few of these wooden caps, and this little brace handle, which is another reason why I wanted to get it. It gives me things to settle my shaky hands with. I get an expansion. The deluxe model comes with the expansion, so you get more of a full, comfortable grip on the off side. It can also, in a pinch, act as, or at least I thought it could. I thought it could act as a handle itself, but apparently not. So, oh no, it can. Just not with that specific. I think I got a dud. Oh yeah, that one's missing its magnetic plate. That's not good. Uh-oh. Is that one of the ones I dropped? Yeah, this is the metal plate to this one's probably under my desk right now. But so I guess that's already part of the product thing, is if the metal comes off, the extra stands aren't so useful. But you get a total of 6 of these little stands, so you can essentially with 6 models, you can assembly line, and it just gives you some basic sticky tack that you're supposed to put on the wood and then put on the base, and then you can rotate your model and paint the model and not actually have to physically touch it. And it's very simple, very basic, elegant design. Seems they're a little fragile, but that's not too that's not too unreasonable, I suppose. One moment. All right, and we're back. So, yes, anyway, this Juktoi, however you pronounce it, hobby painting miniature handle will be the item that I will be reviewing in an upcoming video. We'll also be talking about a lot of the new released Horus Heresy things that I'll be using, some old Horus Heresy sets that I've been sitting on, and conversion bits. Yes, conversion bits. Everyone loves conversion bits, don't they? And my company of choice, Chromelife. I love me some Chromelife. Not sponsored by any of this. We'll also be discussing the special weapons set, the heavy bolter and missile launcher set. I actually have a need for these on for both weapons. A lot of people were sleep on those, from what it seems like, but the Legion I've chosen should be able to benefit from missile launchers and some of the special weapons. I've also got here, I've been sitting on this for a while, the old plastic Space Marine heroes from the Betrayal at Calth set. When they were released individually, I grabbed a set of these from my local hobby shop. Because why not? I am nothing, if anything, a habitual impulse buyer, and I was like, oh, cool, it's the Betrayal at Calth characters. I'll pick those up. And then when these got released a while back, it's been a while, I've been sitting, as you can see, these have been through a move or two in my collection. These are the Mark III Space Marine kits from the Burning of Prospero game, when those were individually released. And as far as Chromelife is concerned, I have a lot of Chromelife to discuss. So many Chromelife categories of things to talk about and use coming up. More Chromelife, so much Chromelife. I've got jump packs, I've got weapons, chaos maces, chain blades, looks like right-handed lightning claws. I have some left-handed lightning claws. I'm not sure where those are at right now. Got the combi plasmas, got the chain axes. I've got heads, destroyer veterans, destroyers, cranium, and conqueror patterns. I've got human skulls. You might be wondering why I need human skulls. And then I've got 2 of the apothecary conversion sets and a lot of brass rod. Add attached to it, not related. A lot of 1.5 millimeter brass rod. That is a lot of conversion bits, I hear you say. Well, Horus Heresy is a good game if you want to kit bash and convert, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to make an army and not spend a ton of money buying all of the specialist versions of models from Forge World because they are stupidly expensive, for a lot of the 10 head sets, they're roughly $30 to $35 for 10 heads from Forge World. That is a lot of money. These 10 heads were $10 from Chromelife. Still a lot of money for just heads, but a lot less. For that amount of money, you can, for Chromelife, you can give 30 Marines special heads as opposed to just 10 Marines special heads. So, I love Forge World. There are beautiful models. If you intend to get Forge World models and play Horus Heresy with Forge World models, more power to you. But these are tough times. And there are tons of companies that make alternative bits that make more sense to use in Horus Heresy, because Horus Heresy is this like golden age of human technology where the restraint of, new invention isn't so taboo. You've got a lot more weird patterns and amalgamations, and also during the Horus Heresy, it's this massive civil war, so a lot of Space Marines are just slapping pieces of armor from various different armor sets together, especially the army that I'll be playing, which we'll be talking about shortly. But let's get on to the meat of today's video. This is Liber Hereticus. It's the only army book I have, because I have no intention of playing a Loyalist Space Marines anytime soon. If I do make a Loyalist Space Marine army, I'll probably make a Space Wolves army. Because I like the Space Wolves of the Horus Heresy, I do not like the Space Wolves of modern 40k. Space Wolves of Horus Heresy were much more just Vikings, which 40k Horus Heresy still kind of are, but they're just like way too into the wolf thing. Like, everything is wolves. They're riding wolves, they're, have wolf familiars, and there's none of that in Horus Heresy. They are just Space Marines with a lot of Viking flavor, and I really like that style of Space Marine. And I like their color scheme, that dark gray with the red. It's very, it is striking. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about army building and chapters. Now, you might be saying, well, shouldn't you have, the Loyalist book on hand so you can talk about the Loyalists? From what I can tell, the first half of each book is essentially identical. And then the second half with all your legions is where your army rules come in. So a lot of what I will talk about when it comes to baseline army building coming up will apply to both sides. And when I get into legion talk, it will pretty much just be trader legions. Excuse me. I need to take a drink here. So, Horus Heresy, Age of Darkness, is essentially the old living rule set of 40k. So, my decades of playing the old version of 40k, pre-8th edition 40k, kick in almost immediately when I'm building an army, when I'm looking at the rules. A lot of it's the same rule sets, a lot of the special rules are the same. So for me, it's like getting back on a bike. And for those who didn't play those old editions, this rule set might seem a little bit more intimidating because of how boiled down 8th is on the rules front when related to like the base game. The problem with 8th and 9th is you have all of this crunch in your armies with your stratagems and your special rules. They're all in your army book as opposed into your main rule book, which you don't have right now. I'm not here to talk about the main baseline rules, but I'm basically just prefacing this so that those of you who are new to this, do not let the baseline rules of army building and the core game snag you up. Do not let that dissuade you. Old 40k was cool in that because the rules didn't change much edition to edition in the core, each change of edition was kind of just like riding a bicycle. You just, you figured out what little changes, tweaks they'd made, and then you put that in your repertoire, and you could learn by heart just about any special rule you could think of. And you wouldn't need a codex to know that special rule. Because all of the codexes used the special rules from the main rules. So that is what is nice about them using the old version of 40k for the baseline of this game. Because of the way that rule system works. And I know a lot of people don't like the reaction system that they've forced into this. It works. I like it because now as an opponent, when you're not playing, it's not your turn, you can now think about what your enemy's doing and potentially do a reaction to that to interrupt their strategy. It makes the game feel like it's going a little quicker. Even though it's not really, it kind of does, because as anyone knows, if the first couple of rounds are pretty boring, it's like 2 hours of just you and your friends just jockeying your armies in position up until like turn 3 or 4 when, you know, the real fighting really starts to kick off. So that is what's nice about reaction system, is it helps you feel like you're a little bit more involved than just like watching everything unfold on your enemy's turn, rolling your saves. That's about it. And then you're waiting to do your turn. So reactions do help. Don't get discouraged by them. They're very basic. Every army has their own reaction that they can do once a game. Give it a shot. Have an open mind. I really like this system, and I'm not being paid to tell you that. It might be nostalgia. It might be me walking in, seeing this old friend of a rule system walk out in front of me, and it's like, to me, it's just like getting back into a bicycle. Now, this is your basic army composition. I'm sorry for the glare. Pages are a little glossy. I can't really get rid of that. Every army must meet certain conditions to be fielded legally in this game. That means you have 1 HQ and 2 compulsory troop selections. Compulsory means mandatory, and that's typically going to be your tactical squad, your baseline Space Marine tactical squad. So this could be a console, 2 tactical squads, or 2, I think they're called Defiler squads, which are basically assault marines without jump packs. So with that in mind, just keep that in mind. So it's like, that's what you're going to need. You can take an allied detachment, is optional. Allied detachments must have an HQ and 1 troop choice. As far as I know, that troop choice has to be, it's not like a mandatory troop version. I think any of the troop types can be taken, and the allied one is their kind of compulsory choice. I'm still reading, still getting used to that, so don't take that as gospel. There's a lot to read. You have all of these things, rights of war, this, that, and the other thing. Rights of war are, you have non-legion specific rights of war, you have legion specific rights of war. Rights of war allow you to have flavor to your army. You can lean more into like the theme of what your army is all about. So the army that I am building is a core Night Lords with allied Horus Heresy overseers. Or Sons of Horus overseers. Sorry, not Horus Heresy. Sons of Horus. That is what I'm bringing to the table with my army, what I intend to bring. So, keeping that in mind, there are certain conditions that must be met when you're building an allied army, when you're building an allied force, your core force, your allied force. All of these are things you have to keep in mind. So, when you get into selecting your HQs, you have all of these selections. You have your Praetor, who's your Master of the Legion. You have Praetors in Terminator armor. You have Centurions. Centurions can take these things called Consularuses, which are like specialities. So like all of those in baseline 40k, you've got like all of these different Space Marine hero types. Your Chaplains, your Apothecaries, your Librarians, your Tech Marines, all of these, you know, little guys that unique things. They're basically all here. They're all here. There's an entry about Consulariuses later on. Centurions are how you make these characters. So you kind of, in the Centurion, you get a ton of freedom on making characters, to the point where, you know, I think a lot of people will think, well, you know, Praetor's pretty badass, I should take the Praetor. Well, maybe not. There are so many things that you can do with the various types of Consularius builds. Maybe you might want to take a couple Centurions as opposed to a Praetor. Yeah, Praetors are badasses, don't get me wrong. They're nasty dudes. But you get a lot more flexibility with your Centurion builds through the Consularises. And you get Centurions in Terminator armor. They can't take all of the types of Consularises, but that's something to keep in mind. Also, certain legions have special Consularises that they can create. So, another thing to keep in mind. You got your command squads in Terminator armor, your command rhino. Basically, you have all of these various types of elites, troops. Yeah, so a line. See here, line. This is when you're building an army. Don't worry so much about what character you want to bring as your HQ. Focus on your compulsory troop choices. Your compulsory troop choices should have line. Line allows them to command and control objectives. That should be more important than any of the flavor on what you build. So anything that's got line should take your primary choice as your go-to compulsory troop choices. So it's like Legion Assault Squad's got line, Breacher Squad, line, Tactical Support Squad, not line, Reconnaissance Squad, line, Scout Squad, not line, and then you've got your dedicated transports. Certain rights of war will make certain units line. Certain rights of war will make certain units compulsory troop choices, but it will not make these new compulsory troop choices line. Keep that in mind when you choose your right of war. If you're getting started in this game, forget about rights of war. Rights of war are flavor. They are a fun way to build an army if you know what you're doing. If you haven't played this game before, if you have no clue what you're doing, forget rights of war. Just forget them. Build a baseline army. Take some allies if you want to. Allies don't hurt, kinda. There is where is that? There is the Allies Alliance chart, which this is probably going to make most people cross-eyed. This looks like, you know, like a Magic Eye puzzle. Basically, all you need to know is there are various types of allies, sworn brothers, fellow warriors, distrusted allies by the Emperor's or the War Master's command, and agents of the Emperor's or agents of the Emperor or War Master. Basically, these tell you how well certain armies work together. Sworn Brothers are best because they essentially are the same army. You might see quite a few matchups for Sworn Brothers. But you might also notice that there's some inconsistencies in the pattern here. Your primary detachment, your optional detachment, won't always line up how they line up here. The vertical alignment here is what matters. The horizontal, not so much. Pay attention to how they line up vertically. Because yeah, it doesn't all line up for some reason. I'm not sure if that is a misprint or if there's other deeper lore reasons why. But ultimately, I am playing Night Lords, the 8th Legion, and I want to ally with Sons of Horus. So we go down here. Sons of Horus. They are fellow warriors. They gain no benefits, but they have no advantages or disadvantages to being allied together. So that's fine. The most gamey way to do it would be to select 2 armies that are always Sworn Brothers. So then you can benefit from each other's rules, you can ride in each other's transports, you can do all of that fun stuff. And while that may be the most optimal thing to do in game, there are other rules that might affect your change. And you'll see why later on when I get to selecting a legion. So anyway, when you're building your army, these are the things you want to keep in mind. If you're going to be allies, you want to keep the alliance chart in line. You want to keep in mind that your troops you pick, as your mandatory pick, should have line. If you do not have units that have the line rule, you're not going to be able to control objectives, and you're not going to win your games. This is a war game. Yes. But not all war games and not all wars are about killing the other guy. A lot of times, wars and battles come down to controlling objectives. And that should always be what you are striving to do. Controlling your objectives. And to do that in this game, you need the line rule. So, if you have the Age of Darkness starter box, you've got your 40 Space Marines, you've got your 2 HQ units, you've got your Spartan, your Centurion, and your 10 Terminators. You can make 4 10-man squads of line infantry, and you can make 2 20-man squads of line infantry. However you decide to go about it in that way, make them line infantry, and then worry about everything else. My best advice to you when building an army, regardless of what legion you choose, build an army to take all comers. You should have something in your pocket to handle any type of unit, any type of situation when it arrives. This can often mean that you will have a diverse army if you build to that strength. You may not have something thematic. You may not have like the one Rite of War, which I think is like the Legion of Ancients or whatever, where it's nothing but Contemptor Dreadnoughts. Very powerful, but if you build that out list, you are one game of playing against Iron Warriors away from just getting absolutely bodied. These are the things you have to keep in mind when you are fighting other legions. Other legions have their strengths and their special rules and their niche that might make the Rite of War that you build not so great. So keep that in mind. I'm not playing my army with any Rite of War. None. And there's nothing wrong with that. So don't get hung up on having to take rites of war on pigeonholing yourself with Rights of War, because Rights of War have a lot of disadvantages in how they're built. They can't take certain army unit types. You lose access to certain units. These are the things you want to keep in mind. And if you want access to everything without no limitations, do not use Rights of War. There's nothing wrong with Rights of War. There's nothing wrong with not using Rights of War. Do not think that they are a necessary mechanic. Rant over. So, let's get on to Legion. And you'll probably notice from the bookmark, you can see that I am, well, like I said, I'm playing Night Lords and Sons of Horus. The ultimate thing that made me decide on why match up these two armies that are just trusted battle brothers. They're not true brothers. They don't fight one-to-one necessarily. Because of this one Warlord trait, the Warmonger. Let me read the fluff on this. As Conrad Curr slipped further and further into madness, many in his legion came to doubt the ability of their Primarch to lead them. Some became marauders, bound to no will but their own, while others sought desperately to restore the Night Lord's sanity. Others sought out a new master. To some among the ranks of the Night Lords, it seemed that Horus was to be the new Lord of mankind, and those who bent the knee to him and served with distinction would profit, while those that clung to the failing and broken Lord would vanish from history. So, this Warlord trait may only be selected by a model with the traitor Allegiance. A Warlord with this trait in any unit he has joined gains a bonus of +1 to all hit rolls made when targeting enemy units that include one or more models with the independent character special rule and the Loyalist Allegiance. That's pretty good. That's just to hit rules. So shooting, close combat, +1 to hit. Pretty good. And if you're playing traitors, chances are you're going to be fighting loyalists. On further of this, if an army that includes a warlord with this trait also includes a detachment with the Legion's Astartes Sons of Horus faction, the warlord and any unit that gains the this warlord and any unit that joins it gains the Fearless special rule. In addition, an army whose warlord has this trait may take an additional reaction during the shooting phase, as long as the warlord has not been removed as a casualty. Shooting phase reactions are really good. If you are to focus on any type of reaction and having a bonus to them, I would say shooting or assault, but I would say shooting, very useful. So this is a really good warlord trait if you're going to ally with Sons of Horus, because it turns the warlord and the squad he joins fearless, and fearless is a very good rule. On top of that, let's go to Sons of Horus real quick. Probably should have bookmarked it so I could. So here we are in Sons of Horus. In the armory of Sons of Horus, they have a Consular Sentry, the Dark Emissary. It's a pretty cheap upgrade for a Consularis in that it's only 25 points. It gains the War Master's Eye special rule. If a Dark Emissary selected as a compulsory HQ choice in an allied detachment as part of an army in a traitor allegiance, then all models in the allied detachment with the Legion's Astartes Sons of Horus special rule gains Stubborn. So read that again. All models in this allied detachment that are Sons of Horus become Stubborn. Not as good as Fearless, but Stubborn is still really damn good. That is such a good rule. This guy is essentially like a discount chaplain. He comes with the Staff of Dark Authority at no additional points cost. It's basically a Strength +1, AP 3 melee, unwieldy murder strike on a 6+. It's like a mini World Breaker, which is Horus's big bad mace. And you get it for free. So, yeah, that can make a... This can make a Centurion that's a cheap upgrade. It gives him some really good abilities, and he gets a free, essentially, like, weird power mace. Not bad. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination. So, yeah, I like this model. I like it a lot. When I read this book, when I saw that, I wanted to play Night Lords. I saw that Night Lord Warlord trait. That is arguably the best Warlord trait for Night Lords that they've got access to. Because it gives you that shooting reaction, because if you take Sons of Horus as allies, he becomes fearless, and the unit that his retinue or the squad that you put him in becomes fearless. That is fantastic. And then, when I saw that Sons of Horus had this Dark Emissary Consularis, and he turns that entire allied detachment stubborn, so good. So good. I like that. It's not broken, by any means. It's fluffy, but it's still solid. And this is why you need to read these books. You need to look through your army lists, especially, like, figuring out what you want to do, knowing what chapter you want to build. And if you know nothing about the Horus Heresy, there's tons of people reviewing these books right now. Go look out, see people talk about the various legions. They talk about the rules, their armories, all of that stuff. That will tell you what you want to play. Also, what will help you know what you want to play is whether or not you believe you can paint those models. Can you do this? Can you paint this? You know, do you want to paint sea green? You know? With access to, like, Justarian Terminators here, Horus's special, like, Justarian retinue Terminators, these guys are really kick-ass. They're expensive, but they're basically like a squad of Terminator Centurions, because they've got the same, like, weapon skill, ballistic skill as Centurions, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Let me see here. They are better than regular Terminators. They've got, like, better ballistic skill, better weapon skill. Let's do some back and forth flipping here real quick. Legion Command Squad. So here's a Cataphractic Command Squad. They have a weapon skill of 5, ballistic skill of 4. Justarian Terminator Squad, which can be a command squad, has a weapon skill of 5 and a ballistic skill of 5, so they have better shooting. Here's a regular Terminator Squad, ballistic skill, weapon skill of 4. Yeah, Justarians are just slightly better. 175 points, 100 points more. So what you're paying for 100 points more with Justarian Terminators, you're getting that better ballistic skill. You're getting leadership 9 across the board. And that's basically it. So you're paying for one better leadership than just a sergeant. There are no special characters. There is no sergeant. They're all Justarian. They're all leadership 9. Solid. They get better shooting, better fighting. Let's see here. They have Relentless, Justarian Retinue, Furious Charge, Chosen Warriors, Stubborn. That's a lot more special rules than regular Cataphracti, and that they just have Relentless, Inexorable. So, looks like they lose Inexorable, but they gain Furious Charge, Chosen Warriors, and Stubborn. So these guys already come with Stubborn, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. I guess if you're making an allied Horus Heresy detachment, you want to throw some Terminators in there and not necessarily waste the free gaining of Stubborn, then you might want to just take some regular Cataphracti. But I just like Justarian because they also have Bane Strike Combi Bolters. They have access to like your full Horus Heresy or Sons of Horus special weapons. Yeah, they're just solid. You can take up to 7 additional Justarian, which is, I think, a 12-man Justarian squad. Oh, wow. Yeah, so you can have up to 12 Justarian in a squad. You can only have up to 10 in a regular Cataphracti squad. But I'm probably going to build and paint, because these guys are in Cataphracti armor. I'm probably just going to build and paint the Cataphracti in Justarian Terminator colors. I have the Cataphracti character in this set. He's going to be my Horus, Sons of Horus leader, because the head that comes with that is bald. He's this very Horus-looking guy, you know, like Sons of Horus. Horus didn't have hair. He's bald. All of his men are bald because of the gene seed, so it's very thematic. And Justarian are beautiful. That black, red, and gold kind of original Black Legion kind of look is a good look. Let's see how they compare to Centurions. Yeah, so they're basically a squad of Centurions. One less wound. That's the only difference. That's pretty good. It's pretty freaking good, I gotta say. So, like, those are the things that interest me. With Night Lords, a lot of what interests me is the modeling side of it. They have special chain weaponry. They have chain glaives, which I'm going to be making out of these really gnarly Chromelife chain swords and brass rod with those little skulls as pommels. These are like the kind of things that you have to think about when you're going to be converting and modeling, because there are chain glaive models. I think it's like $30 for 5 of the damn things from Forge World, so that's not happening. I'm gonna make my own. A lot of what the Night Lords have access to are nasty little bastards. I like the Night Raptors. They're very thematic to take Night Raptors. They also have 2 wounds, which is a nice thing to have amongst baseline units. You have Terror Squads. Terror Squads, I don't feel like are quite as good. They do have Fear. They have other nice little things, but I like the Night Raptors more. It seems more in tune to have, you know, if you're going to do Night Lords, you might as well have a whole bunch of guys jumping around with jump packs and lightning claws. They're nasty, they're dangerous, why not? You also have their Contentar, or Contenkar Terminator Squad. Don't really like them, not great. Not terrible, but just not great. You have special characters like Sevatar. Sevatar is fantastic. Nothing wrong with Sevatar. But I love the paint scheme of the Night Lords. I'm probably not going to be painting much lightning on these fellows. That's just a bit too much for me. Anyway, it says, you know, like lightning effect produced by subsurface Arco projectors, and it's just like, okay, well, if it's a projectors thing, you don't need to. But as you can see, they've got all sorts of, you know, trophies. They're very much like you see the early, like, what's the word? The early signs of heresy are already on these guys. They're wearing human skin and skulls, all of this fun stuff. They're just nasty. I like the Night Lords because they make no bones about who they are. They're not pretending to be anything that they're not. They were monsters from day one, and they remain monsters, and they're beautiful when painted well. The lightning effect can be neat if you want to do it, but it is by no means is it needed. Plus, gives me a chance to test out the new Army Painter triad system for their air paints. An airbrush and a system like that will make painting these guys really quick, be able to make you focus more on just doing details. And I love that like black, that like dark blue with the red and the silver. They're just beautiful. I love Heresy era Night Lords. They kick ass. The Night Lords trilogy by Aaron Dembski Bowden is one of my favorite Black Library series. It's a fantastic series. Couldn't be, highly recommend watching it. Conrad Kurz by Aaron Dembski Bowden, great book. Prince of Crows, fantastic short story. I love Night Lord stories in the Horus Heresy. So their lore, my familiarity with them as like one of the Heresy era chapters I know the most of is Sons of Horus and the Night Lords, because they're the ones I read the most books about. So, by all means, that is ultimately what influenced me. But by looking into those two armies, seeing how they synergize together, and then knowing how to build what I want to build, how I want to field an army, and how I'm going to build that with what's available to me out the box, off the shelf. Just like right out the gate, hit the ground running, see what's available. In my case, what was available to me was obviously the Age of Darkness box. All of the people parceling out our the Age of Darkness starter set kits. There are people selling the Dreadnoughts. I bought 2 more of those. They're on their way. I bought another Spartan. It's on its way. I bought 20 more Mark 6 Marines on their way. I've got 20 Mark 3 Marines to throw in. I've got some additional special characters to draw it out. I have an army. I know what I'm going to build. It's going to be very infantry heavy, but that's not a bad thing. This edition of Horus Heresy is going to be very much, from what I can see and what people are saying, this will be the edition ruled by tactical Marines. It's not to say that you shouldn't bring things that aren't infantry. You absolutely should. So I'm going to be bringing a squad of 3 Dreadnoughts, equipped to handle additional threat values. I'm going to have 2 Land Raider Spartans. And by me not taking a Rite of War, and by me playing with just a baseline army list, I don't cut myself off from anything. I will have access to the full allotment of troops, heavy support, elites, fast attack. I don't lose access to anything. And that is ultimately how you need to approach this game. If you want something, if you want certain types of units, will taking a Rite of War cut you off from that special thing? And don't take a Rite of War. By all means, if you want to make a Jadhek Night Lords all bikes army with that Rite of War, the Jadhek clan, just be the motorcycle gang, be the anti-White Scars, by all means build it. By all means, save yourself some money and get Chromelife bikes. Chromelife makes hover bikes and marine bikes in resin way cheaper than what you're going to pay for Forge World. They look thematically appropriate for Heresy era. You can kit bash and create. You would save a ton of money by building that with Chromelife pieces. Keep in mind also, just because there are Heresy era patterns of things does not mean that the things in 40k don't exist. The Mark III Rhino exists in the Horus Heresy. So don't feel like you have to just use the Horus Heresy, you know, Prometheus Rhino. Don't feel like you have to use the Prometheus Land Raider, the Land Speeder, the one that looks like it came out of Rogue Trader. It's just like a hovering couch with guns strapped to it. You can use current plastic kit land speeders. You can use the certain... there are people who've done videos on like what exists from current 40k that you could play in Horus Heresy. So the bikes, all of the bikes, the plastic bike kits that exist, those would be Heresy era appropriate. You would just need to get era Marine armor patterns that would work on those kits. Which is why Chromelife is so nice, because they're not doing like one-to-one exact recreations of things like with the Apothecary. Their Apothecary conversion set, you just get like this, you get an Arthesium and a backpack, and the backpack is fairly like Heresy era. It looks very old-fashioned. Like the jump packs here, these don't look like current era, you know, modern 40k jump packs. So they could be some sort of obscure, weird pattern of jump pack from a different Forge world. You can justify what you create, what you kit bash. And ultimately, the final thing I have to say about Horus Heresy, this is not a competitive game. Well, it is. You're fighting other people. What I mean by Horus Heresy, and this might change. With the new edition, we might see Horus Heresy tournaments. We might see Horus Heresy, you know, grand champion tournaments at local game stores, whatever. Horus Heresy as a game series was always directed at narrative players. Events were always narrative. Everybody gets together, plays a campaign in a day, kind of that kind of thing. Not, you know, like the only competition that was attached to it was like a painting competition. So if that's what we can expect more of, especially from the current existing Horus Heresy, the guys who've been playing Horus Heresy for decades now, since the Horus Heresy game came out, I think in the early 2000s or whatever, or the late mid-2000s. For the guys who've been playing Horus Heresy this entire time, they are more interested in telling stories through wargaming than being go forth and win every game, win every game, win every game. You should always play to win. But they're not looking to break. They find something from the books, they find something from the Black Library novels, and they recreate that. This is historical gaming in 40k's gussing of the Horus Heresy, if that makes sense. You are limited by like Legion colors. You know, there aren't you can't create your own custom chapter. There are certain things that you have to do to fit within this universe with your army. So my guys are 9th chapter Night Lords, who after Istvan attached themselves to Horus. They left Kurz, they don't care, they're never going back. That's the story I'm going to be telling with my army, because there were a lot of Night Lords, Warlords who did that. So, these are the things you need to think about. So, and there are all types of like eras that fit within the Horus Heresy. You can get incredibly, you can build Crusade era, like you can build a Crusade era army. You can build a Burning of Prospero army. You can build a Betrayal of Calth era army. You can build late war Siege of Terra armies. There's so many little niche things that you can get involved in that you need to think about what you want to build, what you want to do. And don't feel like just because, you know, you take a look at like Sons of Horus, These are their dress colors, their regular colors. A lot of Space Marine armies would put camouflage patterns on their armors for certain campaigns. So they would like paint over camouflage patterns over their dress colors so that they could blend more into the, you know, the local terrain. So there are things you can do. You just have to go looking for them. And ultimately, what you want to do with this is have fun. If you want to build a Dark Angels plasma spam shows up and kicks the shit out of every Space Marine army that it comes across, fine, build it. Just don't expect to make a lot of friends at the local store. Those are also the things you need to keep in mind. If you become that guy, if you become that dude who just walks into the store with the most busted ass army and just wipes the floor with everybody he comes across, no one will want to play you. Don't be that guy. Have some fun. Build something thematic. Tell a story. Pick a battle, a crusade, a campaign that the army you played in. If it's a snapshot from the Istvan 5 Drop Massacre, or the Istvan 3 Purges, or the Siege of Terra, the Burning of Prospero, if it's the assault on Pluto, if it's the, if you want to make like when the Mechanicum army rules come out, you want to make the Mars interim Civil War, like, you know, Tech Heresy stuff. Go for it. You want to build late war Sons of Horus who are all corrupted by chaos. Go for it. Have fun with this. Just because it's just Space Marines and just human factions with your Imperial Army and your Mechanicum, it's a civil war. It's just humanity fighting humanity. That is what Horus Heresy is about. Do not feel like that's going to constrain you. Find something you like. Have fun with it. Above all, have fun with this, because I'm going to be having a ton of fun with what I'm doing. So expect more Horus Heresy content out of me soon, my friends. I'll be reviewing conversion bits for my Horus Heresy army. I'll be showing conversion videos. I'll be talking about product reviews related to the Horus Heresy. I'll be talking about old model kits that are available still that you can find, such as the Space Marine Heroes and the Mark III. You can still find these decently priced in some areas. Some people know that there's a shortage on, and they've yanked the price through the roof, and whatever, fuck them. Don't buy things from scalpers. Whatever you do buy, make sure you're getting a discount. eBay's your friend. There's tons of cheap Mark VI Marines, Centurions, Cataphracti Terminators, and these Spartan Land Raiders. People are parceling these out. They're selling what they don't need. Save some money. Have fun. Support your local game store. Mine sells Chromelife, so that's why I support mine. I don't have to order online to get my Chromelife bits. I can just go down there, get my Chromelife bits from them. So that's why you support your local game stores. Even if you don't play at that local game store because it's full of a bunch of jerks, oh well, support the store if you can. If you can't, don't necessarily go to Amazon. Buy from eBay. Buy from Noble Knight Games. Has a fantastic variety and range. Noble Knight's great. I love Noble Knight. Not sponsored by Noble Knight, but can't recommend them enough. Fast shipping. No shortage of selections of things. And sometimes they've got used stuff that you can buy. Save yourself some money. Above all, save yourself some money. I've got 3 Vindicator tanks covered in Black Templar stuff that I'm going to be hacking up here pretty soon to make into Heresy era Vindicators. So that should be a fun video to make as well. I know this has been a long one, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's been a lot of ranting. But everybody, I hope you learned something. I hope my ranting made somewhat sense and coherency. And I hope, above all, that if you're getting into Horus Heresy, that you have fun with it. And if you don't, sell the army. You might take a loss, but at least you tried. And that's what life's all about. Have a good one, ladies and gents. A most heartfelt thank you to my patrons and subscribers. I wouldn't be able to do this without y'all. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. I have a Patreon. It's in the description of the video. You can also find my Twitter and my Discord server there if you would like to join the community and help this channel grow. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks again, everyone.